Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a funeral, I suspect. As today we're going to get, I think a lot of the discussion is going to revolve around Erik ten Hag and players, as well as a terrible, terrible performance that has really made us not look good after our match preview, Stefan. But I am joined by Stefan and Mr. B, and I'm going to give them just a second to gather their thoughts whilst we look at the comments, because our tempers are running quite high, I feel. So first off, we've got Big T in the house saying it's an absolute disgrace. Get this fraud out of our club. Best in class. Ten Hag wouldn't even be the best in my ass. It's not acceptable. This is not United. We can't accept this. Make a stand and rise up. Some stirring stuff from Comrade Big T. Tough one to take today, fellas. Wasn't the loss. Fulham are a team that can do that to you. It's the lack of any sort of pattern and no ability to change the game. Erik ten Hag will go in May. Matty Bassett is ETH out, and I think that's actually quite new.
That's the first, I think that's the first time he's those are the words uttered from his lips.
And look, this Emma K just stopping by to say we're shit, and now I don't want to think about it anymore. Have a good night, all. Thank you, Emma. I hope that you have a nice weekend as well. It's always nice to see you. All right. Both of you have done watch-alongs. We'll start with you, Stefan.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me. Tell me what you saw in this game. What's going on?
Well, to be brutally honest, man, I was at a cremation earlier, and there was more life at it than there was in the Manchester United team on that pitch today. I feel like I've gone from a cremation to a funeral, and now we're having a group therapy session, so I feel like this is well needed. Do you know what the frustrating thing is? For me, it's watching that match today. It didn't come as a surprise because that wasn't too dissimilar as to how we played against Luton last week. It wasn't too dissimilar how we played against Villa the week before. We have been performing badly, and we haven't been addressing the issues that we've had since match day 1 of the season, really, because against Wolves, we struggled with runners from the midfield. We were too open in transition. We looked reliant on a couple of players. Now we're 26 matches later, we're still in the same position. We've lost, 10 out of 26 matches now. I would love to say it came as a surprise, but I don't think it did. But it's just always so disappointing, and it just always drives home the idea that this does look like a team that doesn't have a clear direction, that these players don't know what they're doing on the pitch quite often. There's a lack of quality in a lot of areas, and if we lose 1 or 2 players, the entire system falls apart, and it's just not sustainable across the season just to constantly rely upon good finishing, moments of brilliance, rather than repeated success and progression through patterns of play, systems, creating chances. And it's just such a frustration to me because I just don't see any attempt to alter the course of it. I haven't seen any changes from the manager in that sense, and it's just disheartening to watch, man.
Very, very well put. Just before we get to you, Mr. B, I'm going to look at the comments because everyone wants to vent in it. Got Matthew saying he can't defend this crock of shit anymore. Neither can our defenders, to be honest. James is ETH out, whereas Big T, ETH out is not enough. I want him banned from entry to the UK. Pat in VA, absolutely dreadful. But you could tell how it was going to go inside the first 10 minutes. And Lit Talk is saying that that's quite a day you've had there, Stefan, with this result and a crematorium and a funeral of sorts. James is completely agreeing with you. We've got some idiocy from this guy, and Andrew is also agreeing with you. So now's not the time, Miguel Arteta. Mr. B, you're dressed as pure as the driven white snow. Let's keep your language like that.
I say I did over cussing on the watch along, and I'm sure I didn't cuss too much because maybe this is what I expected. I'm a bit like Stefan in regards to I'm not surprised. I just thought it was going to come next week. I thought it was going to be next week that they held up their hands and pulled down their pants and just said, take it. Yeah, that is what I thought. I thought today was going to be the game where this was the final push, and then we get the realization next week. Fulham have been a nothing team all season, so for them, I mean, there was a stage in the second half where they had 8 shots, and we never had any in the second half. They had 8 more, and I understand. I wouldn't like to think that because Højlund's missing now, the player who you could tell that they didn't want to pass the ball to is suddenly the savior. Lindelof wasn't great, but you can't put the loss down to Lindelof. The midfield was dead. I'm not going to blame Kobe, but Casemiro hasn't stepped up all season, and days like today, you look at it, you think, all right, he came off, all right, he probably needed to come off. But then the replacements that McTominay isn't a straight replacement for Casemiro, so something has to change. The fact that he made 2 changes, I was happy with. I thought it would help, but Eriksen wasn't what I expected him to be when he came on the pitch. I mean, Stefan spoke about them running through the middle. There was a stage where it was Wolves all over again. I think Eriksen lost the ball, and then he drove 10, 20 yards. Even the goal that they scored, Traore ran. All right, I know he's quicker than Maguire. I understand Maguire was never going to. But the fact that he was able to run the whole of that distance and then play the ball, they had 2 players over. He stopped them. Both of the players stopped and looked at him as he curled the ball past him. So I was screaming for goal for the winner. I'm not going to. When it went to 1-1, I was shocked and I was screaming for goal for the winner. But I don't even think that we did. We just didn't keep out the chance that they had. I'm so...
All right, Mr. B, you've got a picture of Ten Hag on your wall. Is that picture staying up?
It can't come down until he's not here. It can't come down. But maybe it just needs covering for a second or 2.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the substitution now. First of all, I'm unclear on if Casemiro went off as a concussion sub, which would mean that he will be out for Forest and City by the rules of a concussion sub. I'd be very surprised if we used it. But did Casemiro coming off, did that affect anything in the midfield, or was it as dreadful as before? Like Stefan, what did you see after Casemiro came off?
What I think I've seen, Darius, Batham, sorry, man, is whenever we were watching the first half, there was one incident in particular that really stood out to me, and Casemiro jumped in for a wild lunge in the middle of the pitch, which he seems to have to do all of the time, okay? But what made it worse was immediately after Harry Maguire also jumped in for a really bad lunge halfway up, and Fulham got a decent... they had a decent opportunity there. But I think, like, the first half was bad. I think the second half was probably worse at times. Like, beyond that 10-minute spell from when we got the goal, we really did struggle throughout the entire match. And I'm not too sure if it was an issue with the pressing. I feel like we looked slightly more exposed than normal. I'm not sure if it's because Højlund wasn't leading the press and we kind of went 2 up against their centre backs, and that meant that Casemiro and Manu were having a constant 3v2 in the middle of the pitch. I would have to go back and look at it, from that point of view. But I do feel like when Casemiro came off, I was like, right, it has to be McTominay coming on. It was. I feel like Eriksen came on as well, and I'm thinking, right, we've got Bruno, we've got Manu, we have Eriksen, we have McTominay. We have 4 central midfielders on the pitch. We should have a lot more control, and we had even less control. I don't know how it was possible, but we had less control with those players. But we're looking constantly towards Kobe Manu, and again, he was probably the best of the midfield 3. Not that the bar was particularly high, but you have Casemiro there, a guy who's won 4 or 5 Champions Leagues. You have Bruno Fernandes, who's so experienced in the game, and we're always looking towards an 18-year-old kid in the middle of the pitch to be the most composed. I'm just like, I'm looking at the upcoming matches. I'm not too sure what the solution is going to be. I think you had suggested midfield 3, Manu, McTominay, and Bruno. That's probably going to be what we're going with in the next couple of matches. So I guess we're going to find out if he's a loss or if it's just going to be more of the same, really.
Yeah, Mr. B, I'll ask you the same question after I do some comments because everyone's angry and they need to be heard. And first off, we got Andrew's brother, Tyrone. He's saying, bye-bye, Ten Hag. Andrew is saying that Manu Casemiro, shocking today. And then Ericsson had a shocker off the bench. Big T is saying, turn that picture of Eric Ten Hag into a voodoo doll, please. Get some pins in it. And look at this. I don't believe my eyes. It's Ola Kunle.
Long time no here.
Yeah, delighted to see you again, Ola Kunle. I don't think we've seen you since the Liverpool game last year. But tongue-in-cheek, he's saying Rashford has been outstanding, saying otherwise means you don't know ball. Fans need to stop blaming Eth. He should get another 3 years to implement his style. Eth is doing a great job. Ola Kunle is a Liverpool fan, and this kind of tells you all you need to know. We've got one Don MUFC 45, Ten Hag football in full force again. Beefy Mario, worst coach football team in Europe's top flight. God, that's a hell of a shout, isn't it? Look, Big T, he hates cancel culture, but Ten Hag makes him want to champion it. All right, Mr. B, we've heard from Stefan about how the kind of the structural setup of the team just doesn't let you control the game. Is this a problem with the players? Is this a problem of Ten Hag, or is it a blend of the two?
I think it's probably a blend of the two. He's got a style. The fact that we haven't controlled any games this season. We've had moments, as Stefan said earlier on, and people say we're Moments FC. We've had moments in games where we've done something. It hasn't been a controlled or a sustained, grinding the opponent down, or we go out there and we batter them for an hour, or we batter them for 85 minutes or whatever. We don't do that. Ten Hag's been at the club long enough to know who he wants and who he doesn't want. I'm just not sure with results like today, he has much of a leg to stand on. Yeah, granted, the squad is short in a couple of areas, and maybe he wasn't necessarily to blame for Reguilón going back or not being able to get a player in January. But if you're a coach and you can see there's no way there's not another forward. I assume they do 11 versus 11 in training. There's no way there's not another forward on the other side who would play, who could mirror, not saying mirror Højlund, but as a forward. I mean, we thought Forsen, I thought wrongly, Forsen was going to be playing as a striker today. And he wouldn't have moved. He would have still played Garnacho on the right and Rashford on the left. Rashford's not a striker. The fact that Bruno had to be joining him in the press means that he didn't want to. We know we've seen Rashford do it long enough. He doesn't want to do the Højlund work. Højlund would run all day, split the two defenders. He will do that job. They then needed two players today to do it, in Bruno and Rashford, and even then Rashford still wasn't doing it. So when the ball did jump into midfield, then they were overrunning midfield. So there's obviously an issue, a situation with the coaching. I mean, they've had all week to do this. And I said, my issue was how long did they know Højlund was out for with the muscle injury? But it doesn't look like they even knew what they were doing out there today. I mean, we've been bad, but this was one of the worst, I think, this season, to be fair. There was nothing. There was nothing. There was no point in the game where you could say we controlled play. We had a 5-minute spell. Name your 5-minute spell in the game where we were in control and you thought, okay, well, we were lucky, we should have scored. We didn't have that today.
We just had 2 good 5-minute periods at the end of each half, and we conceded in one of them. But I think you make an interesting point, Mr. B, which is that with the setup with Højlund, a lot of our defensive work is in a 4-1-4-1 block, where the striker has to do a lot of running about, and then we have Casemiro picking up between the lines. like on the strong side runner. These things. He's kind of sweeping in between defence and midfield. When we need to put a man next to Rashford, that means that Casemiro has to come up in the block, and we're much more susceptible to balls being played in between the lines. Is this massive weakness in Rashford's game? Is that kind of suggesting that maybe he's not a United player for the future if he's unable to do defensive work?
No, because on the left, he maybe does the role a little bit more, as in what he wants left and right. What it shows that he can't be a forward for Manchester United. What it means is he can't be a centre forward for Manchester United. I'm not going to say he can't be a player for Manchester United, but there has to be better. I'm looking at it like this: there has to be better in class worldwide. This is why we've got the Brailsford. This is why we're going to be getting our director of football. This is why they're going to be changing all of this stuff. There has to be a better player in. There has to be a better player in his position. I look at games where we're dominating and he's in a position, and you think, well, would Martinelli have run directly at the player? Would he have played a 1-2? There's players who are smarter than him. And right now, I think he's exposing the limitations that he has. I mean, he wanted to play up front, so let's not get it twisted. I know as a forward, especially as they're playing him now, you have to run yourself sick. You have to run yourself until you're tired. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't do the ugly side of the game. He always wants it to be pretty, the ball to his feet, blah, blah, blah. If he can't step up, then maybe it is time. Maybe it is time for there to be a parting of the ways, or you get a player who will be there to kick him up his arse, so when he doesn't play, he's not missed. You know what I mean? We need to get players on levels where there's not Rashford and there's a drop off to whoever's below him, because now Garnacho's not his threat. Garnacho's now occupied the right hand side. Rashford doesn't have anybody threatening him on his side. There's no.
I get what you're saying, Mr. B, but like Big T has got a comment that I wanted to get to, but I think I'm going to ask Stefan about this. I felt that for the goal from the corner, you're looking at Lindelof, Varane, and Rashford for who kind of let us down. I felt that Varane didn't make himself big enough. I felt that Lindelof was weak in the air, and as Big T says, Rashford defended like a 6-year-old. Like for that, it was like dodgeball. He was trying to get out of the way of the ball. Am I being harsh, Stefan, or what happened? Talk to me.
No, I would agree with that, both time. I would agree, because I think in defending you have certain rules and there are just certain universals that you have to stick to. Like one of them is you don't let the ball bounce, you don't let the man goal side. You also don't turn your back on the ball either. And that for me was poor. I think the very fact that Bassi got knocked 1 but 2 bites at it before he put it in the back of the net, that again, unacceptable. You have to be clearing your lines. You have to be getting out to block it. You have to be closing him down, because it just sort of opened up for him. It was fairly he was pretty much unchallenged for it. And I think from set pieces today we really struggled. And I think it might have been Carlos Muñoz as well was up against Kobe Mainu, and that's a physical striker going up against an 18-year-old in set piece. And that's not the first time we've seen this problem. I always think back to last season at the Etihad with Christian Eriksen marking Erling Haaland. So set pieces are something we've struggled on all season, but individually Lindelof should have been doing better there, and Rashford as well.
You see that, because I call that he lost the battle 2 times or 3 times to Nunes. Is that then coaching from Ten Hag? Do you think that the players then should be saying, for when he's lost the first one, you move and I take him? It's like they're not taking responsibility. And if that's the case, we knew Muniz was going to start, and what he does, there's been no what's the word? There's been no not quite coaching, but the homework hasn't been. Yeah, in-game management. Yeah, there's been nothing. There's been nothing. He's been beaten twice. So, after the third one, you say, well, Maguire, obviously you're better in the air than or somebody else. Mainu's 18. The guy's already taller than him anyway. He's going to have all of those years experience and he's up against a little boy. So even in game, I don't think there's enough. Not saying Roy Keane was a different breed, but there's not enough men who will shout out teammates to say you're not doing this. Everything just seems to be so everybody just wants to be friends. Nobody wants to upset anybody by giving anybody any criticism. Sometimes you need to be shouted at and be told what to do. Ten Hag is on the side. He doesn't say much. So maybe it is up to the players on the pitch to be doing, but I'm not going to say they threw the towel in today, but Ten Hag has a lot to do to get. I think after this game, top four's gone. I think we needed to win this game because we expected to lose the City game. So that was something that we could have coped to. I would have been positive, but I actually think it's gone. I think it's gone now, and they're really looking at 6. Really, I think that's where we'll occupy now for the rest of the season, and it pisses me off to know that we've still got how much games we got left? We've still got a stack of games left, to be fair, to be played. And I don't see us moving anywhere other than the position that we're in, and it pisses me off.
Well, I suppose like when we're talking about the corners, we should look back at the Villa game where do you remember that Maguire was constantly like eating Kamara from corners? And I think it might have led to a goal. My memory's not very good. The job of like what Mainu is meant to be doing there is he's meant to be stopping Nunez getting a run on. He's not man marking him. He's like disrupting his movement. And it's actually the players in their zones that aren't reacting to it properly. So although Mainu was getting like tossed left, right and centre, it's more the centre-backs that you want to come and dominate that area because Mainu's job is to stop that guy getting a run on. And all right, he didn't do it particularly well and he got eaten up. But I think that the problem we have with set pieces is that in the sort of like hybrid zonal system that we use, players like Rashford, Varane and Maguire are not, and Lindelof are not dominating their areas. Like, I don't think it's just down to Kobe. Kobe's been asked to do a job. Like, and the other thing I wanted to ask you about corners is that we very, very nearly conceded from a few corners today where we had... does anyone remember Garnacho having to defend the back post with Mainu and Dalot after a break in the first half?
Yeah, well, they were the only ones who were tracking back. Yeah, I said that in the game. We defended that one just about. They didn't score from that, but I do remember there were 3 players like breaking their neck to get back, and then the rest of them, it just seemed not that they didn't have the effort, but I want to see them. Yeah, that's the word. They didn't have the power to get back, and it was surprising. It did bother me. It really did bother me. Fair play to the youngsters who put the work in, but you could see that they were on their limit and they still kept on going. Rashford, I think wasn't that the break where Rashford, because he turned his back twice in the game, where he turned his back and the guy flicked it over his head. That's where they broke from. They broke from. So yeah, there's a lot of attitude issues. Maybe Rashford wants to play up front and the whole team, they build everything around. He's not good enough for that. He's not good enough for that. That's Cristiano Ronaldo. That's what you do. That's that level.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be there has to be changes in the summer. And I'm just not sure this team has it in them to bounce. Because look, if we go on another 5-game run, 5-game winning, then all of a sudden we're back. I don't think the team has it half time. I really, really don't think the team has it. When they hit anything negative, their heads drop. You see it. We score. We always concede after we score. It's just what happens. We don't have the capability to go on and dominate. As soon as anything negative happens, it spreads around the whole team like a virus. So maybe there does need to be wholesale changes in there. I'm not going to call for him to go. I'm not quite ready for that yet, but changes are happening now, and you either have to get on board with it or get off. And a lot of these players are going to be getting off at the next train station. I'm convinced.
So are you talking about Rashford or Ten Hag when you
I'm
say?
I'm talking about both of them. I'm talking about both of them.
All right, Stefan, Mr. Beast covered a whole range of topics.
Sorry.
There. No, that's what you're here for, Mr. B. Stefan, is there anything that perked your interest from what Mr. B said, or do you want to go back to talk about setup on corners?
There would be a couple of things I think that Mr. B touched across there that were kind of interesting, and I think one of them is Marcus Rashford does seem to be the latest in a line of players at Manchester United who require the ideal setup to be around him all of the time in order to get the most out of him. I think when Luke Shaw's not behind Rashford, you see a lesser player. When he's not on the left wing with space to run into to get 1v1 with the fullback, you get a lesser performance. And it's one of those, it's like, is that sustainable in the sense that do we formulate our entire team to get the most out of Marcus Rashford, or should Marcus Rashford be adding to the team? And I think based on this season, it's very hard to say that we should be working the entire 10 other players to try to get the most out of the guy. I have a question today in terms of the commitment to the press. That's been an issue all season and for a while, actually, to be fair. Work rate, especially out of possession. I'm sure you guys remember we were playing Newcastle United at St. James's Park. I think Livramento, 19 years old, shrugged him off the ball. Rashford shrugged his shoulders and walked off. So we've had isolated incidents like that throughout the season. And for me, it's just a frustration because I know there is a player in there. I know there's a player last season who we wouldn't have won the League Cup and we wouldn't have finished top four without Rashford last season. It just frustrates me a lot because we know he can do it. It's just, why is he not doing it? Why does he need the perfect environment to thrive every single time? That's a frustration to me.
All right. Well, we're gonna go into some comments, and as you can expect, Andrew is getting stuck in on Rashford. He said he's both brain dead as a footballer and cowardly. I kind of agree with the latter today. I think turning his back twice on things that you look at someone like Erling Haaland, who is like the top striker in the Premier League. He's not going to do that. He's going to go and clear that man out or put his body on the line. And Rashford, it just doesn't do it, does he? We have Big T saying Bruno needs to go on that game show pointless. And this is something that we can get onto afterwards about captaincy and leadership on the pitch. But why would a manager or player allow a situation where Maguire has to run with anyone, never mind Traore? You can't prepare for dangers if you don't see them. And Andrew is bringing up the Wizard of Oz. He's the Scarecrow and the Lion rolled into one. Like, the Scarecrow doesn't have a brain, and I think the Lion doesn't have a heart. I'm not too up with the Wizard of Oz. The sooner Ten Hag goes, the sooner change begins. A new manager can use the remainder of the season as a sort of elongated pre-season. And we have nobody different. So can I ask this? Does that team today beat City? I mean, come on. Right, Mr. B. Big T in that tirade brought up about captaincy. You've been talking about everyone on the pitch wanting to be friends, like lacking a Roy Keane figure. Are we in need of real men on the pitch?
I think we are. I think players who don't like losing, who losing really bothers them. At the moment, I don't think a lot of them. You always care that you've lost a game, but there's players. I mean, even on my Saturday team, I know there's players. When we lose on a Saturday, they don't do anything on a Saturday. They go home and mope, and they don't get paid. They pay me to play football. So it's an attitude thing for one. Bruno, maybe the Manchester United captaincy is something that sucks the life out of you, and you have to be a certain kind of player to hold it. Bruno's form has been affected by his captaincy, like Maguire's form was being affected by the captaincy. Bruno, I want men everywhere. You know, if you've got a team of what we've got out there now, who do you see bollocking somebody on the pitch? There's nobody. Nobody bollocks somebody. You know, if somebody makes a bad pass and they hold up their hand, which happened quite a few times today, there was nobody saying, you sort yourself out. You know, what are you doing? It's the acceptance that mistakes are going to be made. Mistakes don't have to be made. You know, you look for the pass. I mean, Varane lost the ball so much times today. The ball bouncing off his foot, the ball bouncing and going out of play. And it happened quite a few times. Lindelof, he wasn't passing the ball with his left foot. He was making sure that he got the ball on his right, and he was still kicking the ball out of play. It's little things, and nobody is being reprimanded for their shitness. So it just spreads. Okay, you've made a mistake, no problem. I've made a mistake, no problem. You make another mistake, no problem. The only people cussing is us. You don't see Ten Hag remonstrating on the side when a bad pass is made. It's like nobody gives a shit bath time.
Yeah, I have to say that in the at the beginning of the second half, Eriksen and Garnacho and Dalot in particular were losing the ball non-stop in the centre of the pitch. And I expected Bruno, Maguire, someone to come over and say, calm down. Like, you know, we got 45 minutes to win this game. Just take your time. But Stefan, Mr. B has made a point that I want to get into, is that we're all sort of like saying that the midfield was non-existent and was really poor today. Did they have much of a chance with the quality of balls being played into them from our back three, back four?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with what you're getting at as well there, because first phase was really poor. Quite often this season, we've been decent with the ball between our centre backs, the goalkeeper, and then it's moving it beyond that we're struggling with. But I think there was far too much of an acceptance to go backwards. A lot of backwards passes, and something that you did highlight there as well was between Garnacho and Eriksen and Dalot, they give the ball away a lot. Some of that's like completely inexcusable as well. One of the single passes that you never really should be playing is a square ball across the middle of the pitch. We did that a couple of times. We give it away so sloppily several times. But I think one thing that bothered me a lot, and I think it was Mr. B had hinted at it, Lindelof was getting the ball on his right foot. That's his strong foot. He should be able to pick out a simple pass. He played it towards Bruno Fernandes and he missed him, and it was a 5-yard pass. It was just a general sloppiness across the pitch. And although there was a lot of young players on there with Forsin, with Garnacho and Manu, we still have Casemiro, who's won 5 Champions Leagues. We still have Varane, 4 Champions Leagues. Harry Maguire, England international. Victor Lindelof, Swedish international. Bruno Fernandes, captain, Portuguese international. There was a complete absence of responsibility from those players, and those are the type of players you want to step up when things are not going right on the pitch. Whenever you do have a bad performance, it's your personalities, it's the leaders who need to step up. We just weren't getting that at all today, and I think very symptomatic of that was how we couldn't even do the basics right of playing out from the back, from playing it even among the centre backs, and the balls in the midfield, they were quite poor. I would have to go back and look at an actual pass map, but again, you're feeling it's the constant playing the vertical passes into the midfield or trying to go right into the forward line as well. No Højlund there to hold the ball up either. That probably made an impact on the overall game. But it just, from top to bottom, it was a very disappointing performance. I think maybe the only decent performance would be the keeper. Made some decent saves, but I mean, that's it. Mm-hmm. Like, such an underwhelming performance. And look, you can get beat. Any team can beat any team on their day, but we just went out with a whimper, man, and that's just not acceptable.
I mean, like, you often like want fight from games. I agree. You can lose a game. I mean, pretty much every team we've beaten this year, we've done it like complete luck or moments. But the fight today was like they were. You know when you have that dream where you're trying to punch someone and you just can't do it, like you're too slow and you sort of fall over. That's what it was like watching today. But anyway, I have to look at some comments. We got UK Strains in the house. Went on 0 goal difference. And it's almost March. Unreal. We've got Football United TV bigging us up. I think that's Matty, isn't it?
Yeah, Matt. Yeah.
Like, if you like the sort of world of football and other things, go and subscribe to Football United TV. It's a good channel. Ten Hag never looks angry on the touchline. We need an angry manager. UK Strains. Rashford didn't turn up again. He's finished now. He doesn't give an F about the club. Got a lot of hate on Rashford. Big T, spotting a captain is a basic requirement of a manager. Ten Hag doesn't even have that. And now look, Heath is continually defended, but look at his key decisions. Most of them are very poor. Now look, Andrew, Heath is not continuously defended on this channel. It's literally just a Monday who will not have anyone say anything negative about him. I think that the majority of us have a lot of questions about Eric Ten Hag. Is that fair, Mr. B?
Yeah, I'll be fair. I am pro Ten Hag. I will sit here and I will say it, but I'm not going to I'm not ready to see him go. When I'm ready to see him go, whenever that will be, then I will say it. But it may well come to the end of the season, and I've had enough. It might come to the last game of the season. It might be 4 games before the season finishes. I've had enough, and he probably will have to go. But my biggest issue with him going is I don't want Potter. I don't want no yes man. I want a manager who's used to winning. And I thought that Ten Hag was used to winning because he did well in the Dutch league. Now, maybe it's the level of the league, but the capability of in regards to what he was winning and how he performed in it, that's the kind of manager that I want at Man United. If it's Tuchel that comes in, as much as I don't want him, he's a winner. He wins things. He's used to win, all right. He's making a dog's ear of it at the moment, but you got to see the team that he's up against in Leverkusen. They're playing a different level, a different brand of football at the moment. You know, it could just be one season. Could be a one-season wonder that they've just gone and if he stays again and does it, and then fine. But I don't know who we replace him with. This is my biggest issue. I don't know who we replace him with. So,
but it's not on you, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's got absolutely nothing to do with me. But come the end of the season, if we don't finish 6, I believe now is the highest that we can get. And to be fair, 6 isn't good enough. So maybe come the end of the season, it's done. He's got to go. But we've still got time for him, even if it's by accident, by fluke. We've still got an opportunity of getting 4th, and I would like it to be him that gets it. But if we don't get 4th, I think he's going to have to go because I can't see us winning the FA Cup. Not playing like this.
No.
Not playing like this.
If we get 5th and 5th counts for Champions League, like, do you think that's enough for him to stay on?
No, I think it would have to be 5th in FA Cup, to be fair, because he's got into there by default. Because it wouldn't have been nothing that he did because he got kicked out of the Champions League early. So that didn't help the coefficient of anybody else. He got kicked out with Newcastle. So we're then relying on Man City to go deep into the competition. We're then relying on Brighton to beat one of the English teams has got Italian opposition. And one of the teams has got so we're relying on them to beat that game to then maybe 5th place gets us into it. It's a default position. So if it's 5th place and a cup, Champions League by default and a cup, they can still plan for Champions League. But if you're talking at 6, it doesn't matter what happens if you finish less than 5th. So yeah, he.
And do some more comments, and we'll get to Stefan. Big T is saying, which channel's excusing Ten Hag a 10 a penny? Which channel will leave the flock? I will refer you once again to the show I did in the summer, Big T, that no one ever bloody seemed to watch. We lost 20 subscribers over my views on Erik ten Hag. And Andrew is saying, let's go get Neil Warnock. I absolutely love Neil Warnock. I enjoy it, but enjoy it by being disciplined. It's one of my mantras. We've got RS saying Ten Hag ruined my beautiful club. And I think that this is a good comment. We can't celebrate fifth ever. I don't think anyone would be celebrating fifth. Stefan, you've heard Mr. B talking about Erik ten Hag. You've heard the comments. Let's hear from you.
Right. I'm someone who's in the past has been very pro Ten Hag. Last season, I thought, we were making active steps towards being a competent team again. It concerned me last season that we walked away from the style of play he wanted to bring. We went to a more pragmatic style. It got us third place. It won us a trophy. I think going into this season, we all had the expectations when we looked at the transfer window, signing Onana, signing Mount, signing Højlund. These are the types of players Erik ten Hag would like to have in his team. So these are what's going to give us the step forward. This is going to be the progression. We're going to move towards the style of play we thought we would be playing. I think we've gone further away from that. I think we've played horribly pragmatic football at times this season. There's been times we've been playing like Tony Pulis' Stoke team, playing long balls. We want to play on the counter. We don't really look like a team with much identity. But I think last season you saw a reactive Erik ten Hag. I think we expected to see a proactive Erik ten Hag this season, but we haven't really got either. We haven't addressed the issues that we've had all season. And just to throw some numbers out there, and I know numbers and stats might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I did see them, and I think it's worth noting. In this season alone in the Premier League, we have faced 435 shots. And that is the second most, only behind Sheffield United. And we have conceded 100 of those shots in the last 6 games. So I'm just looking at it from the point of view that we're not creating enough. We're not scoring enough. We're not defending well enough. And we don't seem to have a will to change, either from the management or from the players. And I just kind of feel like this is a rudderless ship at the moment, and we're just kind of bobbing towards the finish line.
What could he change, Stefan? We can't get players in. What could he change?
I think you get more from what you have here, and I think that is something he can do. Look, at the minute
you think he could get more? You think he could get more out of what we've got?
Yeah. I do. I think we can get more out of what we've got. I think genuinely looking at what we have at the minute, if you look at today's team, we're very limited. We didn't have a striker really. We didn't have a fullback on the left side. But I think in terms of the overall play, I think it's very simple to tell the players to control the match better, that we don't have to be playing long vertical balls in behind every time. We can keep hold of the ball. We can slow it down. That's what we needed last week against Luton Town as well. We went 2 up after 7 minutes. We should have just held on to the ball, controlled the match, saw it out, brought Luton onto us, hit him on the break. That are things that we can do. But I think the in-game management's a concern. I think he probably, I don't know. I guess some of it is conjecture, but I feel like he could be more inspiring at times, maybe within the dressing room. And look, I'm still someone who thinks that there's a manager in there. I still think that there is a coach in the right environment could do something. I don't know where it's gone. I don't know where it's gone to. And I don't know if this is going to be the environment for him anymore. It might be too little, too late. And I don't know. I can only see us heading towards a managerial change. I really can. I think looking at what Radcliffe's been saying within his interviews, he's never really give any kind of public assurance to the manager in that sense. It's always been something they would review, always been something they would look at. And I don't know what the behind the scenes information would be or what the feeling is going to be, but I'm confident that Ineos will not be impressed by what they've seen so far this season.
Yeah, I don't get any more behind the scenes information. That's stopped now. But all right, let me ask this to both of you. What has to change for Ten Hag to keep his job? Mr. B, like we've got, say, 10, 12 games left in the season. I can't remember off the top of my head.
He would.
What do we need to see?
There would have to be a complete change of attitude from the players on the pitch. Maybe that's got nothing to do with Ten Hag. I think we as fans need to see him changing what obviously doesn't work. He needs to be more proactive in what is being done. And even then, by half-time, it's crazy. Before today's game, and up until today, I was convinced that there was no chance he was going.
Okay.
I know it's only a 90-minute game, but a lot of things, when you win, you tend to mask a lot of the deficiencies because you've won. And when you don't win, all of those things that maybe you should have remembered or should have thought about 2 games, they all come home to roost. And even when we've been winning, we haven't been good. Let's be honest. We haven't been good when we've won. You know, we've had moments. We've had our boy Hoyland, you know, trying to mimic Van Nistelrooy. But that's it. That's the only joy that we've had. You know, we haven't had, you know, Garnacho, God bless him, he scored the overhead. Another moment in the season. Nothing we've done has been sustained. You know, apart from the fact that we've been really, really inconsistent. I'm not going to say. I'll just.
All right. Well, whilst you consider that, I'm just going to check some comments before we get back to Stefan, but I'd like you to say it. Right, UK strains. So Jim has a massive few seasons ahead in terms of a lot of choices. I think UK strains is saying to be made on players and staff. Ten Hag finds out McTominay can't save his ass every game. Although Maguire could have had a hat trick today. Ten Hag does not have it in him to get more. That's why he has to go. He's out of his depth. And look, it's this naughty little bastard Solo. I've seen who you've been talking to, Solo. Same old United. Ten Hag just not good enough. We talked about this earlier, UK Strange. Was Casemiro coming off a big reason we lost today? I think the general feeling is no, not really. The problems were there. What he did give was he plays lovely passes out into wide areas first time. But I personally feel that means that we miss out on second phase play, which is build-up play and getting the team up the pitch and things like this. Right, UK Big T is going to tell you what you need to be a manager, Stefan, and all you need is a team to manage. But to be a Man United manager, you have to be more. You have to be an orchestrator even. Ten Hag can't even play a triangle. I think he means a conductor rather than an orchestrator there. You got any comeback on that, Stefan?
I think a very common and saying that everyone will have heard is if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But I feel like it's broke, and I feel like we're not fixing it. I'm not seeing steps being taken reactively. I think a proactive manager would see these issues coming ahead of time. I think a reactive manager would see the issues as they were happening, and I'm just not seeing him changing anything. Like, we still have the exact same problems. Yeah,
it's not reactive or proactive.
Yeah, it's just nothing, man. Like, it's just it's like it is what it is. Seems to be the general approach.
I just comment, Stefan, and then I'm going to come back to that because I've got a question to ask you. Look, Andrew, I keep trying to tell you guys, I come across as an idiot, but I'm not one. Right, Solo wants Ollie back. Do you know what? This time next week, that could be a real conversation, depending what happens at Forest and the Etihad. And look, we've got the lesser-cited Bill Baggio. Hello, Bill. I hope everything's going well for you. And we've got, doesn't a conductor orchestrate, or once again, was I not listening in class? Lol. An orchestrator is involved in the process. A conductor drives it. So a conductor is outside of the process. Right, Stefan. What I wanted to ask you is that like I was never really that excited by Ten Hag because I didn't like the use of the fullbacks at Ajax. You were you quite liked him at the start, and you see something there. What's changed?
What it is, I think, and it's actually a friend of mine came up with this line, so I can't take credit for it. Manchester United is not a club where you come to experiment or to rediscover yourself. What he should be doing is bringing the culmination of his year's work as a coach, as a manager, from Ajax, from the Bayern Munich second team, from was it Utrecht, I think he was up before as well. He should be bringing his lessons, what he's learned, his overall philosophy, his system. I should be bringing it and implementing it here. It's just been very concerning that at the first issue, the first injury, the first player he hasn't been able to sign, that we've walked away from that, and that me is massively concerning. And I think when he came out with those initial quotes a couple of months back, where he said something along the lines of, I can't play Ajax football here because I don't have the same players. I think a lot of us took that as he was talking about the quality of players that we have here in terms of their technical ability or their pressing ability or their work rate or their attitudes. But the longer this goes on, the more it does look like he was being literal in that sense, that he doesn't have the exact same team, so he can't bring his own style of football that he spent years developing. And that for me is a concern, because I get everybody has their own preferences, and I'm pretty open-minded in terms of what we can do tactically. Like, I think there is a much less defined United way than what some people would say. It's not necessarily going to be a 4-4-2. It's not necessarily going to be the style of football we saw for a long time under Sir Alex Ferguson throughout all his different evolutions. But he's not really adhering to what we thought we were going to be getting as a manager. And that for me is disappointing. If he came and brought a good style of play, I think we'd be open-minded on it. But it's not good. It's not entertaining. And far too often we find ourselves with matches today. And look, today was disappointing, but I don't think any of us are shocked by it. We've seen this before, and we'll probably see it again before the season ends.
All right, I've got one for you, Mr. B. Mind your language. Bill Baggio missed the match. How bad were we? Or were we a bit unlucky?
Don't watch the game. Take it from us. There was no period in the game that we dominated. At one stage in the second half, we had 0 shots and they had 8. Maguire scored a goal. And that's it. And if you're Ten Hag out, he has made you more Ten Hag out. If you were Ten Hag in, he's trying to break you. So yeah, I think that's my help for you. Don't watch it. Just don't let it go. Let it go.
You just get a nice film, like do a jigsaw, like Rashford claims to do. Don't
I know.
watch
You
Match
see
of the
them?
Day.
Yeah, his big 75-foot puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like I've just realised that in the match preview I brought up 2 players that I said I quite liked, which was Iwobi and Bassi, and they both scored. Just bloody annoying. Right, to Stefan's comment, when Ten Hag evaluated us before coming, he should have recognised he can't play Ajax football. It's Ajax football that got him the interview. Comes across like he came for the money for me, and. Well, it's just more foreigners coming and taking, like, you know, David Moyes' job. Stefan, you were talking about the style of football and all these sort of things and the Ajax way. Can you tell us, like, concisely what that would be? Like, what you were expecting to see on the pitch?
I think what I expected to see on the pitch is a lot different than what we've actually got. I think one thing that Ten Hag spoke a lot about last season was the word control. He spoke about the will to control matches, control the opposition. And this season, we have gone from wanting to control to, in his words, be the best transition team in the world. But it seems that it's been misinterpreted, because we are now the best transition team in the world in the sense of the other team being able to transition on us. It feels like we might have got the wiring wrong in that one, but I think that's my frustration. Is like, I expected him to come maybe with a style of football somewhat similar to what we see at Manchester City. In that sense, a lot of the same principles apply from Ajax to the what you do see out of Pep Guardiola. You see a lot of control in that style of football. Obviously, I think you would see a natural evolution on it. Ten Hag's football at Ajax, not what Pep is playing at City. It's a different type of football, and even at Ajax, he had different iterations of his team because it was picked apart so often. We played with a false nine initially, like number 9, and there was changes to that setup. But I just don't see the adaptation of the principles. I just don't see what Ten Hag has learned at Ajax and tried to bring across. And it does look like, for all intents and purposes, with 1 or 2 injuries, without Lisandro Martinez, without Luke Shaw, we can't play out of the back. Without Højlund, we've nothing up front. Without the right midfield, we can't control a match. We can't do anything. So I think I can only assume the players are as lost as we are at times, trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, what would like Ajax have played if they had, like, Donny van McTominay in their squad? Would they'd be throwing him up front and just banging the ball in aimlessly for the last 10 minutes? Right, we've come up to an hour, so I think that we're going to do some final comments and things, and then we'll let you get on to try and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Mr. B, give me your parting statement.
I'm still Ten Haging as much as it's going to bug a few people, but I'm not sure he lasts. I'm not sure he starts next season, is what I'll say. That's my done.
Do you think he lasts the season though?
Yeah, I think they will give, as long as top 4 is mathematically possible and we've got a chance of winning the cup. I think he stays in his job. As soon as both of them become impossibilities, then he's done. He's done.
What if we get another, like, heaven forbid, but like an Anfield away at the Etihad and we're knocked out of the cup on Wednesday?
Jesus.
I'll leave you with that.
Yeah.
Like, have a think. Stefan.
Yeah.
So, what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that's come to my mind, if I want to have a closing thought, I guess, was today we didn't learn anything new, but it's the same lesson that we should have learned in match day 1. It's the same problems opening up time and time again, and we just... It's like you said, we're not being proactive, we're not being reactive, we're not being active. We're sitting idle, and we seem almost like we've accepted that the season's finished at this point, bar the FA Cup on Wednesday night.
Mr. B, I've just given you a little bit of time to think about the FA Cup and the City result.
Yeah, I think if we lose both of them, we're done. If we lose both of them, he's done. He can get away with losing one, but he can't lose both of them. No chance.
All right. So we've got an hour. I'd like to thank everyone that's come to join, because it's never fun after these games. We want to be talking about great goals and things, not like should Harry Maguire have been red carded, which he probably should have, to be honest. We don't have a show for you tomorrow. On Monday, we'll be doing the eye test, and Stefan will be joining me and a Monday for that. Tuesday, we will have a preview. Wednesday, watch along and match reaction. Thursday, I'm going to Spain. And I also think that I'm going to be on Stefan's channel before then as well, to return the favour. because he's been a great guest. So get your likes in for Stefan and go and subscribe to the United
Oh, that's
Philosophy.
it. Most importantly, just take the subs over there, guys. Yeah, take the subs over there.
All right. So we're all going to wish you a good evening as I look for the outro button, and hopefully we'll see you on Monday. So enjoy your weekend, Reds.